Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. I'm back in the saddle. Lance and Chris, thank you so much for covering for me. I understand the reviews came in, and you're welcome back next week.
That's good.
We're glad to have you back, Bob.
Yeah.
I needed the time. I had a good time. Chris, you guys did great work on PPP. First question out of the box, Chris. Money, are we going to get more? Is it over? What do you think is going to happen?
I've been asked that a lot the last couple of days. I don't know. And this being PPP, I don't think I'm ready to put even a penny down one way or another. I mean, I think what I'm hearing from Capitol Hill is I think there is a small movement afoot to add more funds, probably not as a standalone bill, probably as tagged along to the infrastructure or something like that. But that's probably weeks away. So we're definitely going to have a period of time where PPP is shut down before it restarts. If it restarts, that's a big if. The other thing I've heard bannered about is that the administrator could move some funds around.
Yes.
I think there's entirely far too much funds being set aside for CFIs to be able to make much of a dent in that amount between now and the end of the month. And so I think that would be a relatively easy solution for the administrator to put some of those back into the general funds, just like I think she might be able to even reallocate some other funds like EIDL or some other stuff too.
The answer is we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We're on top of it. We don't know. We're sort of in limbo. Lance,
Well,
again,
Bob,
also thank you for covering for me, Lance. Thank you. Go ahead, Lance.
Well, we were talking to John the other day too, and John supposedly is supposed to dig in and see what he can find out about the possibility of additional funding. But he's right in line with what Chris was saying. There's not going to be additional funding today, tomorrow, next week. It would be a few weeks down the road.
Although I would tell you, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I just want to give a shout out to Katie for covering for me as well. She's off this week, and Joseph as well. So I want to cover everyone. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
They all did a nice job. Yeah, I spoke with John late last week too, Lance. But what I was going to say was inexplicably, and I don't know if other people have had this experience. I had some approvals come through between Friday night and early Sunday morning. Like as soon as Elon Musk was off SNL, for some reason, we got some more approvals. So that was a surprise to us. We hadn't gotten any approvals since last, probably a week ago, probably last Tuesday, maybe Monday even. And then we got a number of approvals Friday night through Saturday night. And then we haven't gotten any since. And I have spoken to some people who believe that if you had your loans into SBA prior to that 11 a.m. announcement on Wednesday, May 5th, that SBA, assuming it qualifies, it's eligible, that you may get a decision on those. It just may not be as expedient of a decision as we've become used to, even in this round of PPP. So I don't know. Of course, that means there's not much to tell people. Just be patient, wait. Maybe something will happen, but maybe not. Who knows?
Chris, since the cutoff, any hold codes been resolved favorably for the borrower?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. Lenders can do their certifications and submit that.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, is SB issuing a number after the closure on hold codes that have been resolved?
Oh, yeah. No, they are. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Let's go to the questions. Number one, SBA 7A secondary market premiums are at record highs. And this is what we're talking about is we're selling the guaranteed portion to a intermediary, a broker dealer who in turn sells it to the final investor. 2/3 nailed it. The quote that we had was 121.125. So Chris, you're making 90% guarantee, and you have
well, not me personally.
You're pocketing it up. Chris. So.
Yeah. Well, 121. So you're splitting anything over 110 with SBA.
Correct.
So SBA is doing
correct. So you're netting 115. Yeah.
Right. And then obviously you're getting an extra 20% of the guarantee if you figure from 75% to 90%, that's an extra 20%. So
The question
yeah,
is
so
what's going to happen through the end of the year. I don't see much changes on that. It's a supply and demand issue.
yep,
And
I agree.
the demand is very strong, right, Chris?
Well,
I think so. Yeah. Although I would just correct the slight thing. You can sell to broker dealers, but you can also sell to other depository institutions as well at those
course.
prices.
You can
They
sell
don't always
directly.
pay what the broker dealers do, but yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Derek. I'm sorry.
well, and the thing, Bob, investors look at this, it's like a FDIC insured deposit almost. It's a SBA guaranteed piece of paper that's paying way over what they're going to get from standard bank accounts,
Oh, there we go.
money market accounts.
Yep.
And prepays, when we talk about that, we're talking about two factors. The majority of that are refinances and then charge-offs. But as you can see, refinances are way down, 27% decrease. And so when the investor sees that those refinances are down, they're willing to jump in. They don't care about the underlying paper. All they care about is that guarantee.
Bob, excuse me, one of the things I used to do in a previous location is I would do an analysis of an SBA loan sold on the secondary market and how long it took to get to a loss of zero if the borrower defaulted. And back when premiums were lower and the guarantee percentages were lower, assuming the loan was fairly well collateralized, it took, maybe 18 months to get to a zero loss position. With
Right.
90% guarantees and 122, the premium, or them selling at 122, the loss position may be 2 or 3 months. I'd love to run that calculation again and see, a 25-year loan is going to be secured by real estate.
Right.
So when you take into account the premium you earn, the fact that you've got a 90% guarantee, I'm not going to say risk-free, but Chris, there's not as much risk as there used to be in these days.
Well, it's and there's not if in order to get 122.12, I mean, presumably that's a floating rate. So prime 275, the maximum on a real estate backed 7A. There's no rate risk either for the investors, which I think is important to understand. It's going to float as prime changes, which I don't think any of us expect prime to change anytime soon. The other piece is even though, Bob, you're correct, that I don't think the investors really care much about the underlying credit quality of the loan. They're more concerned about the guarantee and does it meet eligibility per SBA. But if you do look at it through the lens of credit quality, then I would say these are tremendous loans for that purpose as well, because obviously they've got to meet the the minimum thresholds for SBA approval, and if they've done well through the pandemic, and that bodes very, very well for the future for that particular loan for that borrower, and probably we will see prepays accelerate in the next 2 to 3 years as some of these SBA borrowers cycle off and go conventional and refinance out.
The reason why we cover this because this definitely trickles down to everyone's compensation. That's why this is important. We released the compensation survey. It showed that SBA professionals do receive a notch above a conventional underwriter, for example, conventional closer, the SBA closer, the SBA underwriter make a little bit more. And as long as there's a strong secondary market, that's an incentive for the banks to incentivize you and not to have you leave and go somewhere else. So that's why this is important to
don't tell everybody at the bank, or they'll figure out what's going on in the SBA world. I've always felt that SBA professionals, if we just keep a little bit off the radar screen if you're working for a big bank, it's probably a good strategy. You don't let the other guys, maybe they earn a little bit less, but they kick off at 4 p.m. to go
that's
golf.
a general good rule. Do not operate with a target on your back.
It's helpful. Yeah.
What percentage of PPP loans made in their first draw have been forgiven? Lance, they got it right.
They did. I think forgiveness certainly is going to accelerate now that we're probably done with PPP loans being funded or originated. But 55% is not bad. And I got to ask.
I actually listen to the show on my radio. So I've been chastised before. So let me do this, do the numbers. 55%, 43% say 55% is forgiven, which is correct. 23% say 65, 7% say 75, 14% say 45, and 14% say 35. So Joseph and Lance, you guys remind me in the future, make sure I talk about those numbers. Go ahead, Lance, I cut you off.
Now, the one thing, Bob, that, 55% is not too bad. And we all have to remember, and I remember myself even saying this, the first round got off to kind of a slow start for forgiveness because many of us were telling borrowers in December, hey, you probably ought to wait until the first of the year because we don't know what the consequences are. And some of those, I even had the conversation with my brother who had a PPP loan, which, by the way, has been forgiven now. But at the beginning of the year, I'm like, hey, Mike, no, hold off. We're not real sure what the consequences are at this point. And I walked in his office in April and I'm like, did you send your forgiveness application in yet to the bank? And he's like, no. I'm like, go ahead and do it now. And so, I mean, I think that the first round of forgiveness started kind of slowly. This round, this new round of PP, I think it'll get cranked up in a few weeks, most likely.
Lance, give us a refresher of the dates, assuming you were a first, you got one of the first loans. When is the drop dead date, or is there a drop dead date? And when they
your first round, depending on the covered period, whether it was 8 or 24 weeks, then they have 10 months beyond that before they either have to start making payments or have the forgiveness process taken care of. This new round, 24-week covered period. Anybody who's asked me, Chris, I've told them, hey, when your covered period's over, if you spend it on payroll or spend it on unacceptable, get your forgiveness application in. There's no reason to wait this time.
That's right. Lance, you're going to be talking about this next Wednesday and talking about all the paperwork and all the dates, aren't you, in our Coleman webinar?
Absolutely. But, this technically this round, let's just say it's ending. Well, Chris just said he got an approval number the other day. That loan gets funded. They're going to have a 24-week covered period, Bob. Then they'll have 10 months beyond that 24-week covered period before they technically have to start making payments if it's not forgiven. But again, I'm going to encourage borrowers this time, when your covered period's up, if you spend it properly, get your forgiveness application in.
Right. I'm a bad entrepreneur and I'm working on my business, and all of a sudden Chris's company sends me a payment that I have to make a payment. Have I lost out on getting forgiven? What are the logistics, Chris?
Oh, you can apply for forgiveness until it's mature.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Very good. Number 3, according to the NFIB, what percentage of small business reported job openings went unfulfilled last month?
I think the question should be, Bob, how many of you have driven through a fast food restaurant or a Starbucks line and not seen a "we're hiring, please come in and apply"?
I've just spent a week on the road and I saw those signs. I actually went to a place that said closed due to staffing. Let's see, we got over 45 to 50% say 31%, 27% say 40% to 45%, 20% say 35 to 40, 19% say 1/3, and 3% less than 1/3. The correct answer, according to the NFIB, is 44%.
Well, I think there are some states, Bob, that are doing what's necessary to get those jobs filled. Arkansas is one. The federal incentive for unemployment is going to go away in about 2 or 3 weeks. There are other states that are doing that, trying to give a nudge to people to go ahead and take a job.
Yeah. And the supply and demand, obviously, you're going to see labor rates increase, which as a lender, Chris, how's that factor into your loan decisions?
Well, I obviously it can affect our projections going forward. I'm not eager to see the kind of inflation that the president is talking about. He's encouraging this. I think that usually doesn't end terribly well, but I also think we've got a little ways to go. I mean, I think we've had inflation pretty much kept it in check for a couple decades now, and there's certainly been a lot of things that have been deflationary, like the technology boom over the last couple decades, and I'd expect that to continue to some extent. But we are going to see a lot more inflation going forward, folks. There's no doubt about it.
Well, for those of you, and Lance and I, our age cohort, remember the Gerald Ford buttons, Lance, win, whip inflation now, which I still don't understand what that was about.
Well, Bob, and that was, well, not necessarily Gerald Ford, but you and I have told the story. First SBA loan I ever worked on, interest rate 21.5%.
Let's hope we don't go back to those.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I think mine was in the 12s, something like that.
So we talked about this at Deadline Apply, and Lance went through those numbers. Paycheck Protection Forgiveness, the numbers are of the 5.2 million made in 2020, about 3 million have been forgiven. So that's quite a bit. Lance, what do we do when the bank says, I can't forgive this? It's just something smells, something's not right. What do we do?
Well, a lot of it depends on, if there's fraud there, the bank is going to refer it to the inspector general for consideration. If it's just a case, Bob, of a PPP borrower who got a PPP loan and didn't properly spend the money, the bank's got a loan that they're going to service over a period of time. And if they default, hopefully we're going to find out soon what submitting a purchase demand request on a PPP loan is going to be. It's probably going to be pretty simple because with no guarantees, no collateral, very limited paperwork, it can't be too complex, but
what do we do in the case I'm a restaurant owner and I got the money and I tried and I just threw my hands up and closed the doors and fired everyone, and I have no books and the place is closed? What do you do?
In those circumstances, Bob, of course, there's no personal guarantee. If there's no business in existence, that's going to be one where the participant lending institution is going to go to SBA to make good on the 100% guarantee.
That's right.
There's no personal guarantee to pursue.
Does that scenario warrant a referral to the inspector general?
If they just close no.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if there's fraud, yes. If they close a restaurant and suddenly are driving a big new car, maybe so, Bob. But just a situation where I saw a restaurant that did it, Bob. So it's not at my Yeah, they got a PPP loan. They did their best. They, reemployed their people. Revenue did not come back, and they just closed the doors before.
Right.
There's no fraud there. There's nothing to refer to the inspector general. That's going to be one where the institution submits to SBA and gets paid. Everybody's going to walk down the road.
Lance, is there a way? I know the lender self-certifies this. If the lender can't do it, is there a way that we can get SBA to look at it and bless it, or are we the ultimate decider of fact?
See, and I have not seen guidance. The only servicing guidance I've seen out of SBA on PPP loans indicates what I've been saying for quite some time. You service them just like you would based on the FPP 5057-2 and the unilateral authority matrix. But I do believe in the very, very near future, we're going to get some guidance on submitting a purchase demand request on PPP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll wrap up, and we're waiting for 504 refinance details. Chris, I know that's going to be huge for your business.
Yeah, but we haven't seen it yet, though. We're still waiting.
And there are the other, obviously, the 90% guarantee is in place, and the grants are still in place. We'll update our numbers on shuttered venue and restaurant revitalization. I don't have those handy. We'll let you know what's going on, but they're still open. Yes, Lance.
I want to throw this out there because I know we have SBA people on here. For a purchase demand on PPP loans, take a long look at the 3508S, use it as a guide. Let the participant lending institution certify that there's no fraud, that the business is closed, there's nothing to pursue. Check the box, sign it, send it in, and send the money because we don't want our lenders bogged down by thousands of guaranteed purchase requests on PPP loans. We want them making the new 90% guaranteed loans, the 504 loans. So
yeah, we don't want lenders looking over their shoulders saying, oh my word.
So I'm lobbying for a very short purchase demand request for our people.
If we had a poll question, we would be 99% in favor of that, Lance.
Yeah.
I think so. Amen to that. I hope Lance is successful with his personal lobbying campaign.
I think maybe there's a picture of the three of us at the Senate Small Business Committee. Maybe we should go back.
There you go.
Chris, well, I know you're up there quite a bit, Chris, still.
Yeah.
We're doing a collateral tomorrow, requirements for underwriters, very important under today's circumstances. Lance is putting together sort of what we're talking about on unforgiven PPP loans, and I'm finalizing our details for our SBA restaurant financing. I believe this is the 12th year we're doing it. Chris, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Yes, Lance.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get off, I'm sorry. I'm just full of energy today, guys. I feel better. I feel better than I have in months. So I'm full of energy. Hey, Bob, on tomorrow's, let's have a question about how is your past due list looking now that 11, 12 payments are mostly done? Because
Right.
I've heard from a handful of lenders that those past due lists are growing.
Joseph, write that down. We'll ask that tomorrow. Lance, will we see you tomorrow, Lance?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Chris, thank you very much for
Let's
joining
cut
us.
his coffee intake a little tomorrow, though.
Hey, Chris, it's just so good to feel good.
I know. I'm glad you're back among the living, Lance. Thank
You
you.
have 1 and 2 shots, so you're just off the chart now. So,
Yep, exactly. That's good.
hey, thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.